All right. So one thing about the feedback, you just told us that you are listening to the pro players, that you try to get an idea of what they think about the game. But where do you gather your feedback? Do you actually check the community websites? What kind of sources do you have in order to see what could be changed and what people complain about currently?
So we actually have a great community team that gathers community feedback, not just the pressing issues that are going on within the community right now, but also possible potential issues that community members locate. So we actually try to meet at least once a week and have a meeting with regards to all those issues, and we talk about every single issue in detail, whether it's something that we need to address in a patch, something that we need to look into because we haven't been looking into those issues, stuff like that. And aside from that, we also have a lot of data that we can work with. So we constantly check on a very weekly basis what's going on at every single skill level. And naturally, we do take the highest level a little more into account because highest level players are not only just playing the game for themselves, but there's lots of viewers that are watching those games as well. So we feel that those games have a huge impact. And just today, this morning, I actually checked the past 2 weeks, highest level Korean player only GM level. So this is data including only the highest level GM players within Korea. And when I looked at that number, contrary to what the pro feedback is saying, on the ladder, everything looked pretty even. And even in Zerg versus Protoss or Zerg versus Terran matchups, both of those matchups looked pretty even on the ladder.
One of the things that you also said recently is just like people have to develop new strategies. So what do you think is the time frame after you just roll out a new patch that you think is for you as a developing team is kind of the critical one? When do you think, okay, this might be an issue right now, it might be a problem in the first few, how many weeks do you think people need to actually adjust to it?
I guess it really depends on the change because players don't really adjust to changes at set intervals. It really takes different amounts of time depending on what the change is. So for example, right now we are seeing that Zerg could be a little strong because of the Zerg buffs that happened recently, but we do want to take our time to make sure that this is happening at every single tournament that are happening recently. So we will be watching this MLG very closely, as well as there are future tournaments coming up that we can look forward to also.
I have just a question, David. With Heart of the Swarm, I hope you're going to play a lot again. I mean, we're all following you in the beginning of Wings of Liberty. You were constantly like top 1 in the ladder, and I think a lot of people would like to see you playing a tournament. And we all know you might be not allowed, but I would love to invite you to one of my home story cups, actually, probably with the new add-on. Does it feel for you sometimes, oh, I would love to play a tournament now? I mean, there are so many situations where, I don't know, just in especially in the beginning when you play a lot, you might gonna win and end up as the winner of a tournament. Do you feel like you would like to compete with the very best?
I guess I was cheating a little bit because I've been playing the game well before the game released. So it's not really fair to say that I was like #1 because it's not really true. And as for participating in tournaments, I don't think, I mean, just watching all the pro players using their strats, using different types of micro, I don't think I can pull those off. And I think it might actually hurt for me to play in tournaments because that might make me want to switch and play one race rather than random. So I'd much rather be not as good as it can be, but I want to be able to analyze the game as best as possible so that I can help out the players play a fair and balanced game.
I probably have a point why it makes sense to play tournaments. Other conditions, it's like it's a tournament condition. You know, you have to be focused 100%. There's also mind game included, stuff like that. It might make sense for you to play one of the tournaments. And if you have to consider which race, it's Terran, isn't it?
What you can always do is just implement a hotkey combination that gives you like extra hit points.
Well, I am wearing a Zerg t-shirt right now, so
I approve.
There's that answer. And yeah, I do agree that the tournament play is very different from the ladder play, mostly because tournament play is you're playing against the same opponent in a best of X series match, whereas on the ladder you don't know who you're going to meet because the matchmaking is random. But at the same time, I don't think I have to personally experience that myself to be able to gauge those two differences. And we do check all the tournament results pretty carefully, and we do try to locate the overall race ratios of all the three races in every single major tournament. So in that sense, I think our direction is pretty decent.
I have two more questions regarding values in general. One of the things that you introduced with Wings of Liberty is the gold minerals, and nearly every tournament out there is kind of getting rid of them. Are you still sticking with them and you still supporting the idea, or are you currently at a state where you say, okay, well, maybe gold minerals are not what is really good for the game, and we should also just make sure that they are not implemented anymore in maps?
Yeah, in our stats, we're not actually seeing what people are saying in terms of gold minerals. I think it may have been a problem before when the mules were actually gathering 50% more off of those mineral patches as well. But since that patch, we feel like internally, gold minerals can be a part of the game. It's not imbalanced towards any one specific race. And we would like to see tournaments use gold mineral patches again, just to see how they are. But at the same time, each tournament really knows best how to run their own tournament. So the way it is right now, I think it works, and I am seeing really amazing games across the board. So we will try to continue pushing. We will try to continue to push gold minerals on our ladder maps, but maybe not as much as we have been in the past, just because we are trying to stick to that rule of mostly tournament maps only on the 1v1 ladder.
One of the things that we had just recently in the GSL and GSTL quite often is the situation where a Protoss player in a PvZ force fields a ramp, and that has been a huge discussion in the community about this specific strategy, because Zerg players tend to lose the game or their base as soon as it happens. On the other hand, there have not been a lot of solutions to it, because obviously a force field is necessary in order to balance other matchups in general. Is this something that you have been discussing? Is that something that you have been toying with, and what kind of ideas did you come up with, if so?
I think force field is what it is, right? Like, for example, if I put in a DT in your base and you don't have detectors, it's game over right there. That versus if you are not prepared for my warp prism going in and force fielding your ramp, the difference is pretty minor, I think, because and I would actually almost argue that you have better odds fighting against that strategy, the force field strategy. For example, you can use Roach Burrow movement to get through the force fields. You can use Queens, and you can also prep beforehand with some Sunkens or units spread out more evenly across your two or three bases. So I think it's okay to have some all or nothing things, because every single race pretty much has that, right? So for example, if a Zerg sneaks in a Nida Swarm and puts his whole army into your base when your army is nowhere nearby, that's pretty dangerous as well, right? So we don't really think that's as bad as some of the other options out there, and I think that's just part of the game as well.
Earlier, you said that a mothership won't be included in the game anymore. Right now, we see that you can actually have the mothership again. And the original idea, because why you wanted to remove it, is that you felt it didn't have a purpose in the game anymore. Right now, is that actually because it got so much more important in order to counter brood lords that you have it now again implemented in the game?
I think it's a mix of two things, right? First is what you said. It's a core part of the game now, which it wasn't before. And the second is after we've gathered feedback from BlizzCon, we've tried our best to not cut any of the units, because that's not what the fans wanted, that's not what the pros wanted. So I think it's a combination of the mothership being so core to the game right now, as well as us trying to do our best in terms of keeping as many units as possible in the game.
I think we run out of time already because Dustin is already waiting. David, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to have you here. I hope we're going to meet you somewhere later, probably to ask you some more stuff when you're like free and like just watching some games. We can talk about the games. Yeah, Tom, do you have anything to add?
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it, and hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.